Welcome at this new Wonderware Wednesday webinar. This is the fourth session already in this Connected Worker series, where we'll take you on the path of the digital transformation that's taking place and the solutions we as AVEVA and Wonderware Scandinavia and Wonderware Benelux have. This is part of a series, and we kind of use the Connected Worker as the main item into to kind of discuss the benefits our customers have of these solution sets and these solutions we provide. Today we're talking about the Connected Worker managing data. So data in different formats, and we will elaborate on that in the next, I guess, about 45 minutes. And myself, I'm Mark Sating, Director of Operations from Wonderware Benelux, and I'm joined by Jacob and Yuri. Guys, can you introduce yourself first, Jacob?
My name is Jacob Drescher, and I'm a technical sales consultant in Wonderware Scandinavia. I will be doing a part of the presentation here today with Yuri.
Thanks, Jacob. So my name is Yuri. I'm part of the analytics team. I think, meanwhile, we're 4 people helping our customers with analytical questions from manufacturing data. Okay,
thanks, Yuri. So my name is Mark Sating. I'll be kind of the host and do some interaction with Yuri and Jacob on the session today. I started again this year, or restarted again at Wonderware Benelux as the main contact person for Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And we presented now today together with Wonderware Scandinavia, as we are now starting this year 2 sister companies and part of the same group of companies. So it's nice to do these sessions together and also have the big audience in all those countries that can listen and can work on us on the things we propose to them. So already mentioned, it's part of a whole series. We already did some things around how we connect the worker and also the connected worker operating at the edge. It was more about the operate portfolio and about plant assets, so asset management. And now we have the session around the managing data part. So the connected worker is more the broad overview of what AVEVA has to offer in the total solutions. The operate part is more where we come from as also background as Wonderware, the Wonderware business and the operate part of AVEVA. And the plant asset management is more about the asset performance management. It was the session at 4th of November. And now we talk about the data management. That's kind of the integration of all and the outcome of the different solutions. And in 2 weeks, we will talk about the connected worker that improves on plant performance. There we will really take you on the journey of what we call model-driven MES and show you what we can achieve with those solutions. So, but as to say today, it's about managing data or about manufacturing analytics. We have different wordings for that.
We're still struggling with that, huh?
Yeah, we will use that in that way, so that's good. So we're pitching the concept of the connected worker. We see that connected worker as any person within an organization where we really want to improve the efficiency of them by implementing digital technology. And it's technology that we as a technology provider and as a distributors in Scandinavia and Benelux do via Wonderware Benelux. And it's all AVEVA-based solutions. So that connected worker is kind of the voice of our customer. And if you now look at the AVEVA offering, it's based on engineer, operate, and perform. And in the middle of that, we have connect. And that managing of data really comes together in the connect part, where the engineer is more about the lowering of total cost, time, and risk in capital projects. So it's more about the integration of 3D environments, about computer-aided design, about BIM, where operates more the operations part of an environment, more the Wonderware background that we have on that. And perform is more about the asset performance management. And all that data comes together inside AVEVA Connect and inside the Connect environment. And we will work on that and give you some ideas around inside and around the BI Gateway, which are products in that environment. So that AVEVA Connect is that middle and that integration part. I already mentioned that around that. So the connected worker really needs information as we see it. So Yuri, can you work a little bit on the business side of why we do these things?
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, doing the preparations for this webinar, what do you need on the business side to to improve, to optimize, to manage. And at the end, that's information. You need information, and you need information based on data over different domains. And these are just a few examples of different domains, talking about energy, operations, process, alarms, and all of those fields have of course, different applications. For example, process. We talk about optimizing the amount of moisture in products to at the end save costs. So that would really be the business aspect of it. And I think, Mark, you can give some more examples from the operations part, also based on all your experience.
Yeah, and in the last 5 years working at a systems integrator, it was a lot around the operations part, and customers that can sell everything they produce are really into how can we produce more with the assets we have? Where do we have downtimes? Where can we optimize? So in the operations part, and we kind of figure it out as an MES kind of thing, that we really dig into how can we get more out of the current production lines, and where are the downtimes, and where are the things we can improve. And you really need data. It's coming from the process, but also coming from kind of MES environments on that. But the business question is, how can we get more results and get more products out of our production environment?
Exactly. So as you already mentioned, data, and data is living somewhere. Data is living in databases from the different automation systems, whether it's on MES level or on historian. And there you see that there are challenges in the real world of getting access to that data, and to put that data in context. So for example, batch information in context with trending, like to have the average temperature during a batch, or what was my energy usage during the production of this batch in this machine state. And bringing those data sources together and bringing them in context provides you the platform, the basis to get answer on all those questions. And secondly, originally I was talking with a customer, and he said, yeah, my process engineer, he's losing 75% of his time by searching data, by getting access to source systems and retrieve data. In a perfect world, of course, he wouldn't lose that much time and just work on process improvements. So there are a lot of challenges, let's say, in this field to come to information.
Yeah, and a lot of different databases and different data sources that really need that interaction, but also the contextualization around it.
Yes, and in the next slide, we talk about how can you consume that information. Maybe Jacob, you can elaborate on that.
No doubt, the data sets can be quite enormous when you look at the complete plant solution, especially if you have multi-site solutions as well. And there's no doubt that the user of the information needs different tools to dig in to get a quick answer to the questions they might be in need of. Let me just pull out two small examples. The one could be the connected worker, who is the operator of the plant. Maybe he's alerted by the abnormality detection in the system. He has to go and do a quick response to something which has happened in the production line. So for him, it's important to have only those data available that he needs, so that he will not get confused. But it's the same amount of data which the planner or the market researcher is looking into when he's looking into the long-term development of new products or optimization of the plant. But the tools he's using is probably different from the operator. So those connected workers, they really need to have different tools, even though the data set is the same. And that is why also it's very important to understand the building blocks for the data-driven improvement of a plant.
Yes, and maybe before going to that building blocks, if we talk about analytics, that's maybe good to give a little more explanation. We talk about ad hoc analytics, and root cause analysis, but we also talk about dashboarding and KPI management here. And we'll dive into that in a few moments. So, indeed, Jacob, the building blocks. So, basically, this is the foundation of how do we start with analytics. We do have a lot of data, but what to do with it? And if I talk data, I mean all kinds of sensors logging data about temperature, process values, like flows and whatsoever. And useless is a big word, but if you add context to the data, it gives much more value. And with context, I mean the examples which you already gave, like batch and shift and product and recipe. And you like to have the capability to slice your data based on those pieces of context. So again, the amount of energy used during this batch in context of the shift, for example. But to come to KPIs and information, it all starts with a goal. If you don't have a proper definition of that, the circle is not round, and then you're developing. Yeah, what should I say?
Yeah, that's not, you don't know what you're really doing then. So the whole thing is that if you want to create a reachable goal, you need to know which type of data is in and what context do you want with that. You cannot do everything. You don't have an unlimited amount of resources or unlimited amount of time to create your KPIs. So you really should focus on the business side of it. What do I want to achieve? What do I want to gain out of the usage of the data? So you need that goal to define which data I need for that, which data I have available, place the context around it, and then get the KPIs. And if that reaches your goal, then you can iterate and move on to kind of a next KPI or a next goal.
Yes, and I fully agree. It's totally about this crucial starting point. Start analyzing your data, and good analysis will trigger the next question. And then you will build your let's say analytic platform until you have a whole data-driven factory. But I think it all depends on people.
Yeah.
So it's about, let's say, a culture of continuous improvement, and how can data support that? So when starting with analytics, it will bring insights to people. And if you have this insight, then that can lead to ownership. People will feel responsible. And that's the only way people can change. And you should read change as improvement here. So, and again, this is a circle. So this will be, there will be a starting point, but ownership creates more questions of where am I working with and how can I improve continuously.
And only when you kind of become the owner of a problem and become the owner of the data, then you can use the analytics, and that again creates insight, and that kind of creates more ownership. So it's really a circle that you need there, but you also need to, with that goal, you need to push it to the proper people. You need to create the experts and use the experts in that improvement process. And sometimes those are the operators, sometimes the process technologists, sometimes you need the management. It all depends upon the business need you have there, and the goal you define.
A domain expert is really relevant. We recently did an extension of the team with somebody with a more data mathematician background, let's say, but without the domain knowledge, the process knowledge of the production, he's nothing. You need those disciplines together to really come to the next level, and maybe this could be a good moment to talk about the different roles. And what's your opinion there, Jacob?
I fully agree. And the scenario of the way we train people with different background or different skills within the analytics is maybe very well illustrated with this small example. So just imagine that you are invited to this party. Well, today that would be like 10 people and good social distance. But in this room, somebody brings out the question about the offside rule in football. Now, in the past, you would need to be an expert in football in order to describe and visualize what is the rule about and why is it there in the game. But today, you don't need to be the expert in football to find out what is this rule about. You will just search for the information on your mobile device. Well, over time, you will build up competencies in all the rules of football, and you will understand there's much more to it than the offside rule. This is also something that we see in productions. Of course, there are experts who know very much everything about the process or the product which is being produced. It's called domain expertise. So we need those guys. But we also in the same companies see people who are making decisions, who maybe is not so familiar with the details of the process. Both of these categories, they have the same aim, they have the same goal, they want the business to grow. And in order to do so, they need a search tool, a way to visualize what is going on in our plant, either that being in the control room with a lot of screens, or if it is a quick look at a mobile device at the board meeting. It should be easy to find valuable information for everybody in the organization.
Yes, and it's all about those different needs, but all on the same foundation, on the same single truth of the data, let's say. And indeed, we're on this side, we're more looking at ad hoc analysis and root cause analysis, and moving to this side, dashboards and KPIs, as you mentioned. And you can even go to the field of advanced analytics on the same foundation, where people just with a different background look at the data, and those combinations can really bring the next step. So this is also to sketch the horizon of a starting point and moving to really advanced stuff in predicting and pattern recognition and stuff.
Yeah,
but Yuri, that brings out actually another question, because a lot of these people here, they are not on, let me say, the same network. And that very often leads to a new discussion about how to access this kind of information. So what I'm trying to address here is the ever going on discussion about where to run these solutions on premise, or if this is something we should be hosted on a cloud solution. So really the discussion today is not a if or not. It is more like a discussion about how big is the portion which would be running on premise and how big is the portion running on cloud. We see most of the data is generated on premise. So of course there will be connectors publishing information. But for those clients who are going to reach the information, they will probably not be on the OT network. Maybe they're not even in the VPN of the production environment. But still there are informations that are very mandatory for them to leverage on. And that is why cloud also come into place. Really, the cloud strategy is what we talk about maturity in the digital transition. So for some companies, there's a strategy which is built from the management and is pushed out throughout the entire organization. And for those, it is maybe more an easy approach to go for a cloud solution when we talk about analytics. For others who are more or less reactive in the digital transition, those might be running on a on-premise solution for a longer period. But really, it's not a discussion about where, it's more a discussion about strategy and maturity of the digital process. This could be addressed in a long webinar by itself. Maybe it would be a good idea to look at some practical example to see how we can bring all of this stuff together and start to learn from the data in our portfolio.
Yes, good idea. So in the meantime, maybe if people have questions, just don't hesitate and put them in the chat. We have a few examples for today, 3. We're starting with this example, a good example of multi-site edge to enterprise in a platform. I think, Mark, you told about this case in one of your earlier sessions, isn't it?
In the edge to enterprise, we used it as an example of getting data from sites to a cloud environment, and really bridging that gap of the data that resides at different areas and different locations, putting them in a central environment, really use the enterprise benefit of that.
Yes, and we didn't talk about products or solutions too much
Not
in
yet.
in this webinar yet, but here we should. So a little bit more about the AVEVA solution. So the automation systems talked about on the left, and we talk about automation systems because it can be Wonderware or maybe other systems. We're not living in a perfect world. AVEVA Edge as a templating to connect to the systems on site, as a system to template and consolidate and send everything in the same structure from each site to the AVEVA inside environment, more like a second-tier historian here, of course with the inside client to do some training. We will show that in a moment. And then we're moving to the cloud. So the AVEVA Cloud inside AVEVA Insight, BA Gateway, which is the new name of intelligence, however, doing the contextualization of the data and aggregation. So in this engine we make sure the data is available for analytics in front-end BI tooling. We'll tell about that in a moment. And here we calculate, let's say, the average during that specific batch we talked about.
We do there the kind of the time slicing we talked about in the past, isn't it?
We shouldn't talk about technique, we decided up
a
front.
little bit.
They call it time slicing indeed, so that's really where our added value is, to make to connect databases to each other based on time. So when there is no primary key to link, we can do it on time. So we pick, let's say, the start and end time of a batch or a job from the MES database, and then the system, based on low code, picks up the different values out of other databases based on that time slot. So that's basically what happens. And in a later session or one-to-one sessions, we can go in really how that technically works. But that's actually where the added value is. That's been pushed to an Azure Data Store, which is part of the AVEVA platform. And that forms the gateway to any BI front-end tool. So in this case, we use Tableau Online, also cloud. So it's cloud to cloud. But it can be Power BI, it can be ClickView, it can be any BI tool.
So in total, this that edge is really just a small device running on every site to kind of be the data collector, and also kind of normalize and standardize the data to provide that to Insight. And that's only a small install, isn't it?
In this case, it's a small install, but it really does have a really important function.
Yep.
Because what it does is also KPI calculation. So we're talking about more of an intelligence edge here.
Yep.
Normalizing energy streams and KPI calculation, that's what's happening there. But also managing the master data for Insight. So you can change the master data on site, and that will be changed in the Insight environment. So it's a rather small installment, but it really has an important role.
Yep.
It's really the start with the benefit of being in template. So in this case, this customer has a lot of Wonderware sites, but there are also other sites. And for each
sites that don't use Wonderware, you mean?
Do they appear?
Yeah, they're there.
They exist. So each configuration can have a template. So if you roll out to the other sites, it makes it easy when you go to similar sites.
Yeah.
So it is the important chain in this whole picture.
And that AVEVA Cloud that can run in the US, can run in Europe, or can run in Australia, I guess. So it's 3, and we normally use the European environment. So then it's based upon European legislation that data resides in the cloud that's available Most of the times even in a data center, I guess, in the Netherlands or somewhere close, I guess.
I'm not sure exactly what a data center is, but yes, the complete AVEVA cloud, including the Azure database, is hosted indeed in this case in Europe. Even the Tableau, although that's a separate environment, and I know that one is in Ireland.
Okay.
But yeah, then this one is hosted on AWS, so it's all cloud and connected cloud. It's a really interesting project. So more diving into the example. This is one of the dashboards for energy management, as explained, and we see a lot here. So on the left side we see trending energy usage in this last week. On the top we see different KPIs. In the middle bottom we see the consumption per area. So really we use the IC95 modeling here, plant model, to make the slices for the energy usage, or maybe based on products. Yeah. In the middle you see the energy usage per day over that specific week, and the colors they show the production state. So that's again an example of contextualized data. So on the top we have a filter. So what I could do is I can make a selection of a specific week, and specific week has been selected now, and then charts will change. And then I noticed that on the 14th, for example, there's a really high usage of energy during the state of shutdown, and that's interesting. So I like to investigate and I like to drill in, and we really talk about different levels here in dashboarding. So we go from week to day level. So I first get a pop-up and I see the different production units underneath, and I notice that production unit 11 has really a high amount of energy usage. And then I click and I go to the next dashboard, and there I see a drill in. So same KPIs, but then on daily level I see what the energy usage per hour, again contextualized with the production state, and then a couple of different visualizations giving more information about what happened that day over areas, over the states, some tables per shift, etc. But this would trigger, okay, I want to dive in further. I want to see what's happening with the different work units, work center below. So there is also the possibility to drill in and jump to a third dashboard, where next to a lot of detailed information you see a status bar of showing over a specific time frame the different states, and then you clearly see on the 14th that there is some big shutdown moments which also consume energy and don't produce product. And from there I can even go further, and this is the nicest part of the cloud. From the table I can make a selection of a specific measurement on a specific time frame. I can jump to AVEVA Insight instantly. So if you did it the first time, you have to log in. So that's what you see now. So I use my credentials and log in. And then you really jump to the details below of what you have selected. And I think that's the power of connecting the cloud environments with each other.
And really do the deep diving as well from a process analysis perspective, that you can deep dive into the lower level kind of historian type of data that's in place. Yep. And that's available for everybody to use, not only the dashboarding part, but also the second tier historian part. And you can use that over all these sites.
Exactly. This serves a different groups of people even. So people who are more looking at KPIs, but also want to more look in the nitty-gritty details, let's say.
Yeah.
So a second example, feed production. This is more on process optimization. Again, we draw out what's happening here. So this is really an on-premise situation where we use the same software, at least with the same functionality. It was an installation, of course. Automation system. This customer, however, they only use Wonderware.
You have those as well.
Very good. Yep. Historian, MES, quality, intelligence / BI gateway. Again, the name intelligence will become BI gateway, which is a bit of a more logical name. The output will be a SQL data store, and then again we use Tableau here as a front end.
We have one question in between, Yuri,
Oh yeah.
about the previous example. Somebody's asking, can the example you're showing at the moment be hosted locally?
Yes, it can.
I think so as well.
Yeah, I think if you look at that, it's all about the business question behind. So what's in the dashboards, and how do you want to use that to improve your system? And I think that's in our mind. And then whether you deploy it locally or in the cloud, it both has its own benefits and disadvantages.
Yeah, the thing is, if you host it locally, then you have to figure out how people from other sites or remote get access to that data. And that's more the thing than you have to take care of. When it's in the cloud, you can easily go to it, but you have to put it inside the cloud. And that data resides there, and you have to trust that it's good and it's available.
Yeah, that was actually what we discussed also very shortly about the portion of what is running on premise and what is running on cloud. But this is truly what it's about. We see the end result, that is what brings value to any end user. But the journey of the data, that might vary depending on the maturity of the digital process.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, go back slightly. So going back to this example, we're looking here at on-premise, kind of same setup, but then without any cloud and anything going sent to an immediate inside environment. This case, to give a little bit more background, it's about optimizing the amount of moisture inside a product, dog and cat food in this case. So if we look at this dilemma, let's say, so when there is more moisture in a product, the production costs are lower. When there is less moisture, they're higher. And I think it's a factor 30 about a difference in cost of moisture in terms of water and other ingredients.
So from the perspective of the production company, there's an optimum for the amount of moisture.
Yes, and this is where the optimum is defined. So there is a max target and a minimum target. There is let's say a central target line, but there is an optimum space defined. And you should know that when it's too much moisture in a product, the acceptation grade, as they call it, goes down. So the animal doesn't like it, or like it less, and the acceptation goes up when it's drier. But indeed, we're focusing on this optimum. And then, let's say the main question is, what if we move the products which are, let's say, too dry, between quotes, up into this optimum space? Then we can save costs and we still have a good product.
Yeah. So we're just focusing on when do products be at the minimum level and not on the target level, which line, which recipe, so that you can define a lot of different things around it, but you really need that optimization.
Yes, and again, the business case behind here is important. And for this customers, this was a starting point. And if you look at this dashboard, some of the stuff has been blurred out, but that has a reason. We have to respect that. We can share some of the details, but not all the details. And then, for example, the saving potential, this really is a nice amount which justifies the business case to really kickstart other projects as well. If you have a closer look at the dashboard, we see on the right side the saving potentials per day, and we also see what has been saved. And then you could say what has been saved. So those are the work orders, the products which has been produced above this target line. Another interesting one is, and these are visualizations which help to focus. Where do we optimize first? Because optimization can be a really broad spectrum. So if you look at the scatter plot, so all the dots on the screen on the left side, those represent products or recipes or diets, as they call it here. For example, this dot, it does say there's money saved, but it also does say there's a potential. So this means that the underlying work orders, that there is a difference, that there is most of them we did well, they're saved, but there are a few where we can still save. And so all the the dots on the right side have a higher saving potential.
Yeah.
This is what it says on the high level. Of course, we have more than this. We have a second example. There are even more dashboards in this whole project, but just to give an idea of what's possible. So on the left side here, we dive into one product here. So one recipe. There you see the work orders, and as you know that the horizontal line is the amount of the size of the orders, let's say, then you notice that the small orders always have a problem because they are below this target line. So it's harder to control those small orders. You need startup time, and at the moment that your process is stable, the order is coming to an end. So this was one of the good insights of this example.
So not create the short orders. So mention to the planner, hey guys, this is kind of the minimum order quantity, but because then we know we will produce better. Or with the starting of an order, the operator knows better that he needs to add some things and need to get it more moist to start up. Both are possible, and it depends on the business opportunity here.
It really brings the discussion to a whole other level, and it depends on the business opportunity, on the strategy, what the company does, and how they market their products, of course. So it really can bring it to another discussion. And I even can imagine that when we had this discussion, because we saw this, and then you're validating with the customer, is this okay what we were doing? And it even can be something which is temporarily based on your sources, which can be different.
Yeah, the skill level of operators, and could be a lot of different things. But you really see now that difference between the sorts of orders.
Yeah, and a second insight here, and if we talk with you about this chart on the right side, Mark, you always make a joke of me. I don't understand it. A box plot.
For me, it's a box plot is a lot of data in one figure, and I always have trouble in understanding it.
Yeah. So I will.
So you need smart people in using it.
And I will explain it to you for the 5th time today.
That's good.
So
that's good.
Pay
Thanks.
attention. Anyhow, a box plot. So what you see here is the different work orders from left to right, and a box plot basically shows the spread of the data underneath. So if I look, for example, in the middle, what we did here is a representation of the samples took during the production order. So those are the samples sampling the amount of moisture. It's a manual exercise. Operator has been steered by the system.
Yeah, the quality is used for that.
MES quality module, yes. And every trading minute he takes a sample. He does a few things. So he measures the hardness and then moisture and some other stuff. So and then you see the spread. So in this box plot, so this is the representation of all the samples he took in this order. So when the box plot is large, there's a big spread, and when the box plot is small, they're really narrow to each other. And that's what a box plot basically says.
Yeah.
So if you dive in a little bit deeper, we only visualized, and I hope everybody can see that, the first measured sample. And we colored that dot. And then the conclusion is, hey, why are all the dots on the lower part of the chart? So that means that these operators always start with a with a setting which produces dry product. So that means he's really starting on the safe side.
Yeah.
And he can move that a little bit up. Oh, I hope you understand the box plot now.
Yeah, it must be okay after today. Yeah.
So that about this example, and then we go to a first and last example about alarm management. Again, it's about of the same picture you just saw. On-premise solution, different automation systems, historian, MES, alarm management, and a system creating codes on packaging.
Yeah, and scanning the codes and have the interaction that you know which product or which material or which whatever is used and scanned. So that's part of the context of the alarms arising. Huh?
Yes, and that's the point. Huh? Only an alarm database is nice, and only an MES database can give information, but it's all about that context, about this an alarm during a specific batch or work order, and the related process values at that moment, and see which products have been made in code there. So bringing that in context is really where the information is, instead of analyzing a specific data source. Again, intelligent BI gateway doing time slicing, contextualization, aggregation, data store, and Tableau. Also, this customer used Tableau, but again, we can use Power BI, ClickView. We can use all other tools which are already in the organization. So it's not that we need to compete with that. Yeah, we like to follow the discussion of the best tool, but that's a different story.
This example really came from a systems integrator that already was aware that around alarm management, there was a need to improve at this customer, and they were really searching for a tool to do it. So we helped them out with the solution, but they really used their knowledge of the process to to get to the goal that the customer has about the improvement of the alarms, and they really have knowledge of the historian, the MES, and the alarm environment. So really knew how to contextualize it, but they really need a tool for that. And we helped them out with that, and they eventually got further and created a total working solution.
Yes, exactly. If you bring it to a little side discussion, pilots and proof of concepts and projects go hand in hand with system integrators. Their partner network, they have the value of knowing the customer and the processes, so it will always be hand in hand. While initiating can come from us, can start with an integrator, but it will be in the triangle with the end user, customer, system integrator, and one of us, Scandinavia, Benelux, AVEVA.
Yep.
Okay, going into this example, and I'm just realizing this is all in Dutch. I'm not going to translate everything, but my apologies for that. So this is about visualizing the disturbances in an overview, and you should know this is not like OEE. So there is a percentage on top of the amount of time that the production is not that the installation is not producing. So during a work order.
This is more about what you see in an OEA type of solution. You have kind of the short stops, and those short stops come a lot from alarms appearing. So you know a short stop is caused by a certain alarm that could be the background why there is a short stop. So they really combine those two inside this this topic.
Exactly, and if you then look a little bit more what's been visualized here, so in the middle you see a scatter plot showing the days with the amount of stoppages against the total time of the stoppages. And then on the right side you really see the days where there is a lot of improvement possible. Yep. On the left side you see that more in a heat map kind of view, where you see a week and the different days, and the highlighted ones really have the highest number. So it's possible to drill in. I will show in a moment. On the left bottom you see a few trends. In the middle you see the causes per work unit. So that's again the context side of the MES database. And on the right side you see at top of all the alarm overviews, and for example the upper one, you see the total duration and the number of alarms. So this helps to filter out where to focus to optimize.
Yeah, that really sounds like the logical place to go and the logical alarm to take care of.
To start
because
with.
it's a number of alarms, but especially the amount of time that it's in alarm and creates the stoppage. So
Exactly.
this is really the thing to focus on.
Yeah, with a few KPIs on top. So the total percentage of stoppage time, the number of occurrences, and the number of alarms, with some filtering of year and week. And then you can drill in. So select a day and go to a daily overview. And in this daily overview, it really breaks down on what happened on that day, with the different KPIs of the percentage of that the downtime of that stop time, let's say, For example, work orders, the amount, again, the different work orders in detail, some Pareto showing on which time frame it happens, and yeah, so some more detailed information about the alarm. So yeah, drilling into information again.
Yeah. And using that context of the data that's all available and creating the output that people understand and give them the ability to improve. But also afterwards, if they improved and did certain things, they can see what the outcome then again of the data is.
Yeah, and this is also for the customer. It's searching, searching of what is, how should we interpretate all those stoppages, and how should we apply our business ruling. And this was one of the things the customer gave back to us is you could handle the definition of alarms and stoppages on PSC level, but you also can do it on analytics level, and then you're much more flexible in adjusting your business ruling during the time that you learn.
Yeah.
So I think some nice examples of how you can apply analytics on different domains. But
the key was that you really needed that goal. Huh? That was for all three examples, that was key in getting to a success.
Exactly, and a goal and a good scope, a limited scope, and that really brings to the end of the story. But how do you start with analytics projects? How do you really get going? So we could do that with a proof of concept, and in the time we really learned that the investment of the software and everything there can be a boundary to start with. But if you really can start small with a proof of concept of 5 days without any investment in software, but you do that purely based on consult together with us and an integrator, then we can show you in 5 days what's possible on your data and really show the value of analytics on your specific situation.
Yeah, your specific business needs, and really the key performance indicators you need to kind of transform your business and take better informed decisions.
Exactly. If I've got situations where we get an order to execute a proof of concept, and then I say to the customer, okay, you have to fill in your use case. And then it's always a bit of discussion, because we cannot start without a use case.
Yeah.
They have to fill in a few use cases, and use cases can be judged on different ways. So a use case can be judged on the business impact. So what can we win at the end? Can we save this much time for every order, which results in this amount? And that's, if you can link euros, that is really strong. And on the other side, can we do it?
Do we have the data for it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is the data available? Is it being logged? Is it in the proper format, etc., etc. And then if you look at the steps, so defining that goal, then we go into a workshop where we really discuss in detail the use case to be able to translate it into a functional dashboard and model, execute it, deliver it, and evaluate. And this is really the step where we check together if the defined goal has been reached, and if there is a moment to really go to implementation. And this is that's why a system integrator can be needed already in this process to get him on board and to know what's happening. But because at the end he should be the one to do the implementation, and we take a step back, let's say.
Yeah. Really using our key knowledge in that we understand that manufacturing data, we understand how to contextualize it, we understand how to prepare that data to be used inside a BI platform. That's really our added value as the manufacturing analytics team has from our side. But we really need that process expertise and expertise from the systems integrator and the end customer in creating that goal and combining and getting the data. So it's really a shared interest that we use there. So that kind of takes us to the end. I saw an additional question coming in. Perhaps you can answer that one, Jacob, the question is, what kind of arguments would you give to the customers concerned about uptime in regards to cloud storage? So it's a bit about...
Actually, it's around the on-premise hybrid solution or cloud solution discussion. So in those examples that we have been displaying here, where we are using software as a service on the cloud, we are also using edge applications.
Jacob, we have some audio thing here that kind of why we cannot hear you. So perhaps you can answer it, Yuri. Why should you go for a cloud, and why is it good to? What are the concerns, perhaps, about uptime in regards to cloud storage?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it all has to do with outsourcing and let the responsibility be at another, let's say, party than your own organization.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact percentages, but I think it's really high.
Okay.
In terms of scalability, you have a big advantage, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So see, then we answered the questions that came in. So I would like to thank all of you in attending the webinar today. Really, if you want to go for such a proof of concept from an end customer perspective, or you're a systems integrator that want to know more about this solution and have a possible customer for this, you can go either to OneWeb Scandinavia or OneWeb Benelux and get in contact with us. And so I'd like to thank you for joining today. In 2 weeks, we have another session that's more around the model-driven MES part, so really about the plant optimization and the benefits you could have out of that, or the connected worker has out of that. So thanks for attending today, and we'll see you and meet you next time.